Hey everybody, Don Morse here from American Tackle. I'm here with THERON ASBERY, and we're going to tell you a little bit about what's been happening the last week with the 2021 International Custom Rod Builders Challenge. We've had 17 builders from all over the world send in their custom creations, and we had 10 judges come in over the last week and critique them and just really pick them apart. And cool thing about this year, judges from all walks of life. So we had anglers, we had rod builders, we had manufacturers, all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah, so check out these rods, and we'll tell you a little bit more about the judges here in just a moment. So THERON had the honor of being in with all the judges as they judged the rods. We had 17 rods come in from all over the world, 4 different countries, and by committee we chose the top 10. Every one of the 10 judges got to judge every one of the top 10 rods. So we had amazing judges from all walks of life, from manufacturing to anglers to custom rod builders. Tell us about some of the anglers that came in.
Yeah, so the first one that pops out in my head is Carter Andrews. He's the host of Obsessions of Carter Andrews.
I love that show.
Yeah, you can see it on Outdoor Channel, one of the best shows that there is. He's got some of the top views of any of the fishing shows out there. But he really looked at, can I go fishing with this rod? Like he even said when he walked through the door, I want to find the rod I can take to Cambodia and catch the world record or whatever. So he looked at the functionality of all the rods, would he put a reel on it? Would he go out fishing with it? But he also took his time to look at the guide straightness. He took his time to make sure that, how the guides lined up with how the line would go through the guides and just the overall look of it. The reel seats was really important to him because he catches really, really big saltwater fish. So he took his time there. I mean, I came here and I told him it might take you 30 minutes. He ended up being here for 2 hours.
We had fun.
Yeah, we did have fun. So he was one of the anglers that came in, but then Ken Duke, the same day at a different time. So Ken is actually an editor for a fishing tackle retailer. And previous to that, he was employed by Bassmaster, but he's got 40 plus years in the fishing industry. And he knew a lot about custom rod building, rod manufacturing. He'd never built a rod before, but being an angler and being around the sport, he knew exactly what to look for. I think he took the most time at looking at the guide placement, the rod just functionality, the flex of the rod, just how all the builders built the rods themselves. So.
And you had Phil and Scott.
Yeah, Phil and Scott. So Phil Wolf with Coastal Angler, he took his time to really look at that, a big saltwater inshore fisherman. So that's kind of what he was looking for is, can this rod be universal? Can I go bass fishing with it? Can I go inshore fishing with it? He felt as if the builder should build a rod that can be used through all dimensions of fishing. So, and then Scott with BD Outdoors. Now, BD Outdoors is a saltwater advertising company out of California. We're fortunate to have him out here on the east coast of Florida. And he's, again, 40 plus years in the industry, been fishing all of his life. He knew exactly what to look for in all the different categories that we had all the judges, judge the rods on. So.
And I know probably the most fun were the guys from the Custom Rod Builders Guild. Paul Sims, the president, and Howard Barnes, the membership director. Those two were here at the same time, and I heard nothing but laughing and just pure loudness.
I've never laughed so hard watching two guys look at these rods. So they have 104 years combined custom rod building. So they've been in the game forever. They've seen the evolution of rod building from back in the day where you could glue one part at a time, where rods were taking up to 2 weeks to build because the glues and the resins and the finishes just aren't what they are today. And they were the ones pointing out, back in the day it was this, and this, and now we're putting carbon fiber on rods. And they're weighing, you just built a rod that weighed like 4 ounces?
No, 2.65.
Yeah, 2.65 ounces, so I doubled your weight there. But
right.
Just the things that they look at, and they're in charge of the guild, and so they talk to rod builders from all over the world, literally. And it was really kind of funny. One of the rods that they picked up from Germany, Paul actually picked it up and he looked at it and he said, "This is not an American-made rod. I can tell just by how it was designed and the layout of the guides." And he just unbelievable the wealth of knowledge that those guys had. One judge that really popped out to me was Dave Reddington with Reddington Rods. So Dave actually founded Reddington Rods and now is the owner of South Fork Rods. So he kind of started in the fly fishing world and now he's more into the saltwater world. But the things that he was pointing out about, telling stories about when he started building as a kid, back in being a teenager, this was back in the 70s, and I'm not aging you, Dave, I promise. But you know, being a rod builder now, getting his son involved in rod building, now his son has some friends that are involved with South Fork Rods, and you know, they were both here together. They kind of judged it together, even though Dave was the primary judge. And just the things that he talked about getting started into rod building, into commercial manufacturing, working with different companies in the industry as far as parts like American Tackle. Really, really interesting, just the wealth of knowledge that guy has.
And Dave has been around forever. I mean, started Reddington fly rods way back in the day, and now South Fork is actually an OEM builder, so he actually builds rods for other companies right here in the States. So he knows what goes into rod building, and he does it on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
And Brad, his son, they're pumping out some really nice rods.
One of the interesting stories that Dave told me was that he actually custom built a rod back when he was in his early 20s for a guy to break a world record in casting. So, you know, we're going completely on the polar opposite end of the spectrum. We're building rods for anglers. Now he got into building rods for guys that are wanting to break world records for casting. So that comes down to flexibility, the action, the length, overall just functionality. You know, who would have thought that was involved in custom rod building?
Nice. And then right down the road here, we got Mudhole, the largest rod building component retailer in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And we had Scott, he runs the whole show down there, Scott Gimbert.
Yeah.
We had Todd Vivian, who does a lot of their work for him as well. And Todd's got a manufacturing background as well. So how were Todd and Scott?
So Scott really just looked at the rods as a whole, you know, from an angler's perspective, from a rod builder's perspective. Is it something that he would be proud of? Is it something that he would have liked to produce himself? But Todd actually kind of bent the rods and really wrenched on them and gave him the whole run through with the different judging elements that we presented with him. He took it very, very seriously. Again, he was here for more than 2 hours, and he put line through the guides, he put reels on the reel seats. He was very, very critical. I mean, he was fair to all the rods, but he really, really cracked it down to this is the best rod for all the different reasons.
And it doesn't surprise me that he was really focused on the blank, because he comes from a rod design background in Lamiglass, and then he also helps with some of the stuff at Mudhole with their rod blanks and some of their designs.
Absolutely. You know what's really cool? I probably learned the most from him. You know, being still a relatively new rod builder myself, he would actually do the static test with the line, and he would really point out, this is why this guy needs to be here, this is why this builder put this guy here.
Really technical.
Yeah, very, very technical, but it was cool for me to be able to be in there with them, ask questions, and learn a lot as well.
Yeah, and last but not least, our vice president
Yep.
and part owner of American Tackle, Darren Heim. Darren,
Yes.
not only has been a custom rod builder since he was a teenager, but he's also been in manufacturing. I mean, he ran manufacturing for Seeker for a while, and he's been in just a ton of other companies. And Darren knows the ins and outs of all the rods. And I didn't get to talk to him about them at all, but I know you were in there a little bit with him.
You know, Darren really stepped away from being the vice president of American Tackle and really focused on being a very, very good judge. And again, he put a lot of the emphasis that Todd put in there, but he looked at the functionality. He wanted to, you know, see why Carter judged the way that he did, and why that we included anglers involved in this as well as manufacturers. So he looked at it from all realms of things, because he started out as a teenager many, many years ago doing custom rods for anglers, and he knew what they were wanting. And a lot of that matches up today to what anglers are wanting and why builders are building rods the way that they are. So one thing that I'll point out is all the rods that you see in this video, they all, you know, have their differences and to make them really, really good custom rods. The only thing that they shared was they shared the same blank. So it was an American Tackle Bushido blank. It's a mystery blank. We're still not going to give it away what it was, but everything else on that rod, they could paint it, they could put different guides on. Everything else is completely different about these rods.
So yeah, we want to give a special thank you to all the judges that were able to come in and help us out with this amazing event. We couldn't have done it without you. So I guess it's time to announce the top 3.
Absolutely.
All right. So from the 4 different countries, the top 3 were all from the United States. Number 3, Mark Blabaum. I've known Mark for a long time. Absolutely beautiful rod. Number 2, Wade Christensen. Absolutely beautiful. I know Wade hasn't been built in a super long time, but his rod was actually a casting and fly rod convertible rod.
One of my favorites. Absolutely beautiful.
Really, really cool work. And number 1, drum roll please, I'm not surprised, a lot of us aren't surprised, Mark Couse. Congratulations, Mark. That rod was absolutely gorgeous. You blew away the competition. And actually, from there on down was really, really close.
Really, really tight. So second to third was separated by only 4 points. And then unfortunately third to fourth was separated by 1 point.
So pretty amazing. So
yeah.
The top 3 are getting these absolutely gorgeous trophies and some wonderful prizes. So thank you for everybody that participated. Thank you for the judges for coming in and taking time with us. We learned a lot from you. I hope you learned a lot from us. And man, I just want to thank you all, and hopefully you can join us again next year as we are the host of the 2022.
That's right, we just signed on. We are the 2022 host of the International Rod Building Challenge, so we'll be back again. Our new mystery blank. I'm sure a lot of the builders that submitted rods this year will submit again next year, including Mark, the winner. So he's going to want to defend his title. And if you're a brand new rod builder or a rod builder that would be interested in this challenge, check out our website, americantackle.us. We're always going to have a link to the challenge on there with updated information, and as well as our social media platforms. So Facebook, Instagram, we'll be giving some shout outs there and updating you as we go along.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And congratulations to the winners.
Thank you, guys.